My name is Amika, and the first time I knew my house was no longer safe, my wife was on her knees, in the dust, holding my leg, begging me not to open the gate. "Please," Amara cried, "do not bring her inside this house." Her fingers were shaking. Her wrapper was half loose from running after me. Behind me stood the woman I had chosen. The woman the whole village had been talking about for 7 days. The woman whose beauty made men forget their own names. And still, I pushed the gate open. Before I go on, let me tell you something. If you are seeing my channel for the first time, please like this story, comment where you are listening from, and share it with someone who thinks beauty can never hide danger. Because that was the mistake I made. A terrible mistake. And before this night ended, somebody in my house was going to pay for it. I should have listened to Amara. I know that now. But that evening, my heart was hard like dry wood in Harmattan. I looked down at my first wife, the woman who had stayed with me when I had nothing but 2 goats and 1 leaking roof, and all I felt was anger, not because she was wrong, because she was standing between me and what I wanted. "Stand up," I told her. "Do not disgrace me in front of my new wife." Amara looked up at me as if I had slapped her. That look should have stopped me. It did not. The new bride stood a few steps behind me, quiet as evening smoke. Her name was Adana. She was young. Too young for a man like me, some people said. Her skin shone under the setting sun. Her eyes were wide and calm. Her lips stayed closed. She did not beg me to hurry. She did not smile at Amara. She only watched. That was the strange part. A woman entering a husband's house should feel something. Fear, shame, pride, joy. But Adana looked like someone who had already seen the inside of my compound long before that day. I should have asked myself how. Instead, I lifted her bag and told her to step in. Amara rose slowly. She was 35, the same age as my troubles. Her eyes were red from crying, but there was something else inside them too. Fear. Not the kind a wife feels when another woman enters her marriage. This was deeper, colder, like she had seen a shadow and could not find its owner. "Amika," she said again, softer this time, "this one is not for this house." I laughed because I did not want to feel weak. "Did the elders send you to say that? Or is this jealousy speaking?" Amara opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked at Adana again. Adana did not blink. That silence cut through me for 1 small second. Just one. But I crushed it. Pride can be louder than wisdom. That day, it shouted inside me. So I turned my back on the tears of my first wife and walked my second wife into the compound. That was how the trouble truly began. You need to know how I got there. Not from the beginning of my life. No, from the beginning of my foolishness. It had started 2 months earlier at the market road. I had gone there to sell palm oil and dry pepper. Business was bad. My temper was worse. Amara and I had been fighting at home because money was short and our only son, Kelechi, was sick often. Every week there was a new bill. Herbs, food, school sandals, roof repair. Even breathing seemed to cost money in those days, and I was tired of being seen as a man who had not arrived. In the village, men watch other men. They count your goats. They count your wives. They count your harvest. They count your strength. If you smile too much, they say your wife controls you. If you refuse a second wife, they say you are weak or poor or both. That day at the market, I heard laughter before I saw her. Men had gathered near Mama Uju's cloth stand. One boy almost dropped a tray of oranges because he was staring too hard. Then Adana stepped into the road. carrying a small basket on her head like she had all the time in the world. She wore a simple blouse. Nothing rich, nothing loud, but every head turned. Even the women went quiet. I had never seen anything like it. It was not just beauty, it was the way beauty sat on her. Calm, cold, certain. I asked who she was, and nobody knew. That alone should have made me careful. A woman does not just appear in a village and make old men lose their words. But when desire enters a man's chest, common sense can leave through the back door. I followed the whispers until I found out she was staying with a distant widow near the stream. They said she had no father, no mother, no husband, and no child. They said she was alone in the world. That story touched something inside me, or maybe it touched my pride. I told myself I was helping her. I told myself a man like me could give her a name, a home, protection. But if I am being honest with you, I wanted people to look at me and envy me. I wanted to walk into the square and make mouths stay open. I wanted to feel like a winner in a life that had been beating me every day. So I began to visit. I did not tell Amara the first time, or the second, or the third. That is how wrong things grow, quietly, like weeds behind a house. Adana spoke very little when I visited. I would ask where she came from, and she would smile faintly and say, "Far." I would ask if she had family, and she would say, "Not anymore." I would ask what she wanted from life, and she would say, "A place where nobody will send me away." Each answer pulled me in more. Each answer also told me almost nothing. Still, I kept going. One evening, as the sky turned orange, I brought her roasted corn and ground nuts. She took them, but she did not eat. I noticed that. I joked about it. She only said she was not hungry. A whole evening passed, and she drank only water. Even then, I did not stop. I told myself maybe she was shy. Maybe she was careful around me. And maybe beauty came with strange habits. When a man is determined to believe a lie, he can explain away anything. Amara found out on a Sunday. I came home late. My clothes smelled of perfume that was not hers. She was sitting outside with a lantern by her feet, and Kelechi asleep on her lap. She looked up at me once and said, "Who is she?" My heart jumped. I still remember that moment. The night was cool, crickets were loud, a pot of soup had gone cold beside the kitchen wall. There was still time to tell the truth, gently. There was still time to pull back. There was still time to save my home. But instead of fear, pride rose in me. "She is someone I may marry," I said. Amara did not shout. That was what hurt me later. She just stared at me like she had suddenly become lost in her own life. "May marry?" she repeated. "Yes," I said. "So a man is allowed to marry again." Kelechi turned in her lap, but he did not wake. Amara placed one hand on his back and asked, "And what did I do to deserve this?" That question stayed with me long after, because I had no real answer. Amara was not lazy. She was not wicked. She was not barren. She was not disrespectful. We had suffered together, yes. We had fought too. But she had never stopped standing with me. Still, I said the cruel thing. "I am tired of this house feeling heavy," I told her. "Maybe another woman will bring joy." Amara bowed her head. For a moment, I thought she would cry. Instead, she laughed once, a small, broken laugh. "So now I am the darkness?" she asked. I should have said no. I should have sat beside her. I should have remembered the years she carried me. But once pride opens its mouth, mercy can go silent. And from that night, my home split into two parts, the part where I slept and the part where Amara's heart was breaking. She stopped talking much. She cooked, she cleaned, she cared for Kelechi, but her eyes changed. Sometimes I would wake before dawn and find her sitting outside alone, staring at the gate. Once I asked what she was doing. She said, "Listening." "Listening to what?" I asked. She did not answer. Another time I heard her speaking with old Mama Inkem, a widow who knew too much about everybody's business. When I entered the yard, their voices dropped. Mama Inkem looked at me and shook her head slowly. "Not every beautiful thing should be carried home," she said. I almost insulted her. I wanted to, but something in her voice felt old and heavy, like a warning passed down from people long gone. I brushed it aside. Again. The elders called me 3 days later. Only 2 of them came to talk, because they said they did not want shame to spread. One was Elder Okoro, thin and serious. The other was Elder Bassi, whose beard was white as ash. They sat under the mango tree in front of my compound. Amara stayed inside. I stood like a stubborn boy before men who had seen more life than I had. Elder Okoro spoke first. "We hear you want to bring a second wife." "Yes," I said. "Do you know her people?" he asked. "She has no one," I replied. "Then who stands for her?" Elder Bassi asked. "I will stand for her." The 2 old men looked at each other. That look bothered me. Elder Okoro leaned forward. "Emeka, a home is not just a bed for beauty. A home is where names matter, blood matters, truth matters." We asked around. Her story shifts. I folded my arms. "So because a woman is alone, she does not deserve marriage?" "That is not what we said," Elder Bassi answered. "We said be careful." Then he lowered his voice. "Some people say strange things follow her." My stomach tightened, but I forced a smile. "People always talk." "Yes," Elder Bassi said, "and sometimes they talk because they are afraid." That should have been enough. Fear from old men is not small, but I was already gone in my mind, already tied to my choice. I thanked them without meaning it. When they left, I called them jealous of my boldness. What I should have called them was merciful. The marriage happened fast after that. Too fast. There was no big celebration. Just drinks, cola nuts, a few witnesses, and enough talk to fill 10 compounds. Some people came because they wanted food. Some came because they wanted to see the woman everyone was whispering about. Some came because they were waiting for trouble. Amara did not attend the small joining. She stayed inside with Kelechi. I told myself that was her choice. Maybe it was. Maybe it was the only strength she had left. On the day I brought Adana home, clouds covered the sky early. Even the chickens were restless. Kelechi, my little boy of 8, stood by the wall and watched quietly. He had his mother's eyes, smart eyes, eyes that noticed what adults tried to hide. When Adana stepped into the yard, Kelechi moved behind Amara at once. That cut me more than I let show. "Come and greet your new mother," I said. The boy did not move. Adana looked at him, not smiling, not frowning, just looking. Kelechi gripped Amara's wrapper tighter. "She scares me," he whispered. "A child can say one sentence and open a door adults have locked." For one moment, the whole compound felt wrong. Too still, too close. Even the air seemed to wait. But again, I chose blindness. "He is just shy," I said. I led Adana to the room I had prepared. It used to hold yam baskets and old tools. I cleaned it myself 2 nights before. New mat, new wrapper on the bed, small mirror on the wall. I wanted her to feel special. I wanted the village to hear that Emeka had married the finest woman in the land and treated her like a queen. When she stepped into the room, she paused near the doorway. "Do you like it?" I asked. She looked around once. Then she asked, "Does the room lock well at night?" A strange question. Not do I like the bed, not where will I keep my clothes, not will your first wife accept me. No, she asked about the lock. "Does it locks?" I said. "Why?" "I do not sleep well with open doors," she replied. Something cold moved down my back, small, quick. Then it was gone. "That can be fixed," I said. She nodded. That was all. That evening, nobody ate together. Amara served food to Kelechi and herself in the kitchen corner. I took a tray to Adana in her room. She thanked me, but again, she hardly touched the food. She only asked for more water. By the third cup, I laughed and said she would float away. She looked at me with those calm eyes and said, "Water is kinder than most things." I smiled as if I understood. I did not. Night came slowly. The kind of village night where every sound matters. A cough from the next compound. A baby crying far away. Frogs near the stream. Firewood breaking in a small kitchen flame. And I sat outside for some time because the room felt too warm. Or maybe I was uneasy and did not want to name it. Then Amara came and stood before me. The lantern light touched one side of her face. She looked tired, not weak, just deeply tired. "Send her away now," she said. My anger rose at once. "You have started again?" "I am serious, Emeka." "So am I." Amara's voice dropped. "Something is wrong with that woman." "You keep saying that. What have you seen?" She swallowed. "Nothing clear." "Then stop this nonsense." She looked toward Adana's closed door. "I woke this afternoon and did not see her in the room. I thought she went to the back to bathe. I called. No answer. Then I heard something moving near the goat shed. I said nothing, but my chest tightened. I went there," Amara continued. "You and the goats were pressing themselves against the wood. All of them. Quiet. Not one sound. I thought maybe a thief had come. Then I saw—" She stopped. I stood up. "You saw what?" Amara looked at me, and for the first time that day, I saw tears fall again. "I do not know what I saw," she whispered. "That is what is making me afraid." I almost asked more, almost. But then, Adana's door opened behind us. We both turned. She stood there with her hair loose over her shoulders. She was smiling now. Not big, just enough to show she knew we had been talking about her. "Is anything wrong?" she asked. Amara stepped back at once. I hated that. I hated that my first wife, the woman who had built this house with me, was the one stepping back in fear, while this new woman stood in my doorway like she belonged there more than all of us. So I hardened again. "Nothing is wrong," I said. "Go inside, Amara." Amara did not move. "Go inside," I repeated. Slowly, she turned and walked away. But before she disappeared into the darkness with Kelechi, she said one thing over her shoulder. "If you love your life, Emeka, do not sleep too deeply tonight." Then she was gone. I laughed after she left. I had to laugh, because if I did not laugh, I might start listening. And if I started listening, I might start fearing. And if I feared, then everything I had done would begin to look like madness. Adana moved closer to me. "Your first wife hates me," she said softly. "She will adjust," I replied. "Will she?" Adana asked. There was something strange in the way she said it, like the words had another meaning hiding under them. I told myself I was imagining things, and maybe I wanted to imagine things. Maybe a part of me already knew the road I had chosen was leading somewhere dark, and my mind was trying to warn me before it was too late. Later that night, after the compound went still, I lay on my mat beside Adana. Sleep did not come. Her body was warm, but still. Too still. I could hear my own breathing. I could hear the weak flap of a loose roofing sheet above us. I could hear something else too, a dragging sound, soft, from outside the room. I sat up at once. "Did you hear that?" I whispered. No answer. I turned to Adana. Her side of the mat was empty. My mouth went dry. I know what I saw. The wrapper she had worn was on the floor. The door was not fully open, but it was not shut either. Just a thin line of darkness showed through the gap, and from somewhere in the compound, and very close to the wall of the room, came that sound again. Drag. Pause. Drag. I stood up slowly. My legs felt weak. "Adana?" I called. No answer. Then from outside, near the goat shed, I heard Kelechi scream. A scream so sharp it split the night in two. Kelechi's scream tore through the dark, and I ran before I could even think. I rushed out of the room barefoot. My heart was beating so hard it hurt. The night air hit my face like cold water. I heard Amara shouting my son's name. I heard goats kicking against wood. I heard something else too, something heavy, moving fast through dry grass. "Kelechi!" I shouted. Then I saw him. My son was standing on top of an old water drum near the goat shed, shaking so badly he could hardly stay up. His small hands were spread out. His eyes were wide, too wide. He was looking down into the dark, like something below him was waiting to pull him apart. "Daddy!" he cried. "It was there. It was there." I grabbed him down so fast he almost slipped from my arms. He held my neck like he was drowning. "What was there?" I asked. "Talk to me, Kelechi." He could not answer at first. He was crying too hard. His chest jumped. His whole body was hot with fear. Behind me, Amara came running with the lantern. The light shook in her hand. That yellow light touched the ground near the shed, and what I saw made my mouth go dry. The earth was marked, not by a man's foot, not by a goat. Something long had moved through the dust. Long, wide, heavy. It had passed so close to the shed that the dry grass was pressed flat in one line. Amara saw it too. She stopped walking. "Emeka," she whispered. I did not answer her. I could not. The goats were still pushing themselves against the far wall. None of them made a sound. That silence was worse than noise. Animals know fear early, sometimes before people do. "Kelechi," I said again, trying to keep my voice steady, "what did you see?" He pulled back and looked at me with tears all over his face. "I woke up because something was rubbing the wall," he said. "I thought maybe a goat broke loose. I came out. Then I saw. He started crying again. "It was long, Daddy, and it was near me." Amara moved closer. "Did you see a face?" Kelechi nodded once. Then he shook his head. "I do not know," he said. "It was dark, but I heard her voice." My blood turned cold. "Whose voice?" I asked, though I already feared the answer. Kelechi looked toward the room where Adana had been sleeping. "New mother," he whispered. I wanted to say he was confused. I wanted to say fear had mixed his head. I wanted to say anything that would keep the world normal for one more minute. But before I could speak, a voice came from behind us. "What happened?" We all turned. Adana was standing near the back of the house. She had come from the side of the kitchen, not from our room. That hit me first. The second thing that hit me was this. Her wrapper was neat. Too neat. Her face was calm. Too calm. A woman woken by a child's scream should look startled. She should ask 10 questions. She should rush. But Adana stood there as if she had walked into a story she already knew. Amara saw it too. I know she did, because her fingers tightened around the lantern handle until I thought the metal would bend. "Kelechi screamed," I said. Adana looked at him. then at the ground, and then back at me. Why was he outside at this hour? That question angered me at once, not because it was wrong, because it was cold. He came out because something scared him, Amara snapped. Adana's eyes moved to Amara. Children scare easily. Kelechi buried his face in my neck. It was not a dream, he whispered. Daddy, it was not. I believed him then. Maybe not all of it. Maybe not yet. But enough. Still, pride was not fully dead inside me. Fear and pride were fighting in my chest, and I did not know which one I hated more. So I carried Kelechi back into the house and told both women to stay inside. Nobody slept after that. Amara sat with Kelechi on her mat. I sat near the doorway with a stick in my hand, though I knew a stick would mean nothing if the thing my son described was real. Adana stayed in her room, or maybe she stayed near the room. I could not tell. Twice I thought I heard soft movement. Once I nearly stood to check, but my legs felt heavy, my head felt full. Questions kept hitting me like stones. Why had her side of the mat been empty? Why had she come from the back of the house? Why did the ground look like that? And why did my son say he heard her voice in the dark? Just before dawn, Amara spoke from across the room. Now do you understand? She asked quietly. Her voice was tired. No anger. That made it worse. I stared at the doorway. I do not understand anything yet. Amara gave a dry laugh. That is the problem. You should have tried sooner. I wanted to defend myself, but no words came. Kelechi had finally slept with his head on her lap. His face still looked frightened, even in sleep. A child should not look like that in his own father's house. The first light of morning brought no peace. When I stepped outside, the air smelled wrong. Sharp, wet, bitter, like something had passed in the night that did not belong among people. I went straight to the goat shed. One goat was missing. The rope that held it had not snapped. It had not been untied. It had simply been cut through, clean and low. The dust was disturbed again. There was that long drag mark. And near the corner post, I found something stuck on rough wood, a thin piece of skin, not cloth, not rope, skin. It was pale and dry and see-through in some places. I picked it up, and my hand began to shake. I knew animal skin. I had lived too long not to know it. This was from no goat, no chicken, no lizard. It was too large. Behind me, Amara said my name. I turned so fast, I nearly dropped it. She had Kelechi behind her and a basket in her hand. She had been going to fetch water, but now she stood still, staring at what I was holding. "What is that?" she asked. I tried to speak, but my throat felt tight. Before I could answer, Adana stepped into the yard. The moment her eyes fell on the piece in my hand, something changed in her face, only for a breath, only for one small second. But I saw it, not fear, not shame, anger. Then it was gone. "What are you holding?" she asked. I looked at her. Really looked this time. She was still beautiful. That had not changed, but beauty can become frightening once your trust cracks. Her calm no longer looked soft to me. It looked controlled. Her silence no longer looked sweet. It looked hidden. "I found this near the shed," I said. She walked closer, then stopped. "That is snakeskin," she said simply. "Maybe one passed in the night." Amara let out a hard laugh. "Maybe one passed in the night," she repeated, "in my husband's compound, near my child, after speaking with a woman's voice." Adana did not answer her. I hated that silence again. It gave nothing. It took everything. "Why were you outside last night?" I asked. Adana turned to me. "I heard the scream. I came out." "From where?" "From the back." What were you doing there? She held my eyes for so long that my skin prickled. I could not sleep, she said. That answer should have sounded normal. It did not. Amara stepped forward. Ask her where she came from. Ask her who her people are. Ask her why animals fear her. Enough, I snapped, though this time my voice had no strength in it. Amara's eyes filled with hurt. Enough? My son almost died in the dark, and you are still protecting her. Kelechi tugged her wrapper. Mama, he whispered, I want to go to Grandma's place. That small sentence broke something inside me. Children ask to leave when they no longer feel safe. My son wanted to run from my house. From me. I made a choice then. Not a brave one. Not yet. But a choice. I told Amara to take Kelechi to her mother's compound for the day. Adana looked at me when I said it. Just looked. But I felt as if she had heard more than my words, as if she understood that fear had finally entered me. Amara wasted no time. She wrapped food in cloth, tied a scarf over her hair, and took Kelechi by the hand. Before she left, she came close enough for only me to hear. If you still want to save your life, she said, you will call Elder Bassi today. Then she walked out the gate. I stood in the yard with Adana and the piece of skin in my hand, and for the first time since I married her, I wished I had never seen her face. The compound felt too empty after Amara and Kelechi left. That emptiness made every sound louder. A pot lid, a bird wing, a palm frond moving in the breeze. Adana went back into her room without asking where they had gone. That bothered me more than if she had shouted. A new wife should care when a child leaves in fear. But she acted like a person waiting for time to pass. I took the piece of skin and wrapped it in cloth. Then I walked to find Elder Bassi. The old man was sitting under a neem tree beside his hut when I reached him. He saw my face and did not greet me with a smile. You have come, he said, and I hated how those words sounded. Not surprised, not confused, just sure. I sat down on the low bench near him and placed the cloth bundle between us. I need you to see something. He opened the cloth carefully. When he saw what was inside, he shut his eyes for a moment. How long has she been in your house? He asked. 1 night, I replied. 1 night too many. A shiver ran through me. Tell me plainly what you think. Elder Bassi lifted the piece again, then dropped it back into the cloth. I think some dangers do not enter by force. They enter because somebody opens the door with both hands. His words hit hard, because they were true. I swallowed. My son heard her voice in the dark. The old man nodded slowly. Then the house has already been marked. My mouth dried. Marked for what? For hunger, for shame, for death. I'd sometimes won, sometimes all. I wanted to stand. I wanted to run. I wanted to tell him he was mad. But my own eyes had seen too much that morning. What do? I asked. Elder Bassi leaned forward. Do not be alone with her tonight. That answer scared me more than if he had shouted. He continued. Do not let her know you fully suspect her. Do not touch her in anger. Do not challenge her in darkness. And before sunset, gather family witnesses. Light is your friend. Truth hates shared eyes. I tried to keep the order of his words straight in my head. Family witnesses? Yes, small. Only those who must know, not the whole village. If she is what I fear, panic will scatter everybody. But if we bring lanterns, if we pray, if we question her before witnesses, something may break. May? I asked. He looked at me with pity. Wish you did not marry a goat thief, Emeka. You may have married something older and worse. I could not breathe well after that. He told me to go home and act normal. He told me he would come after sunset. He said Mama Ninkum must be there too, because she had seen signs before. He said Amara and Kelechi should not return unless we were ready. But I refused that part. I could not leave them away while danger sat in my compound. I wanted them close, where I could see them. Maybe that was fear. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe both. When I returned home, Adana was washing her hands by the clay pot. The water ran over her fingers slowly, too slowly, like she enjoyed feeling it. "You were gone a long time," she said. "I went to see someone." "Who?" "Elder Bassi." For the first time, her eyes sharpened. That look lasted only a moment, but it was there. "And what did the elder say?" she asked. I forced myself to shrug. "That a snake may have crossed the compound." Adana smiled then, a small smile. "Only a snake." My heart hit hard in my chest. "What else should it be?" I asked. She dried her hands and stepped closer. "You tell me, husband." That word, husband, sounded wrong in her mouth at that moment. Not warm, not loving, like a person trying on a borrowed cloth. I moved away from her and busied myself near the firewood because I did not trust my face. The day dragged like a sick body. Nothing happened, and that made everything worse. No shout, no sound, no proof, just waiting. Fear grows well in waiting. By late afternoon, Amara returned with Kelechi because I sent word. She did not want to come. I could see that. But when I told her Elder Bassi was coming after dark, and she understood, something had changed in me. She brought Kelechi inside and kept him close. "Do not let him out of your sight," I told her. Amara studied my face. "You believe me now." It was not a question. It was pain. I lowered my eyes. I should have listened sooner. Amara did not answer. Some hurts are too deep for quick forgiveness. Just before sunset, Mama Inkum arrived first. Old, bent, sharp-eyed. She walked into the compound, looked once at Adana, and made the sign old women make when they want evil to stay away. Adana said nothing. She sat by her doorway like a carved figure. Then Elder Bassi came with one younger man carrying 2 extra lanterns. I had seen that young man before, but I barely noticed him. My whole body had become one long nerve. No one spoke loudly. The air itself felt tense. Elder Bassi told us all to sit in the open center of the compound. He placed one lantern near Amara and Kelechi, one near me, one near himself. The last one he kept unlit by his feet. That unlit lantern frightened me for reasons I could not explain. Adana remained seated on a low stool near her room. Her face was calm again, too calm. She looked at all of us one by one, as if counting. Elder Bassi cleared his throat. "Adana," he said, "there are questions around your name." She tilted her head. "My name is mine." "What questions?" Mamankum spoke before anyone else could. "Who gave birth to you?" Adana smiled faintly. "A woman." "Which woman?" Mamankum shot back. "Does it matter?" Adana asked. "Yes," Elder Bassi said. "Tonight it matters." Amara pulled Kelechi closer. I could hear my son breathing fast. Adana crossed one leg over the other. "You have brought elders into our husband's house to shame me." "No," Elder Bassi replied. "We came because something moved in this compound last night, and truth must answer for it." Adana's face did not change. "You think I am a snake." Nobody laughed. Nobody breathed well. Then she looked straight at me. "And you?" she asked. "Do you think so too, Amika?" That was the moment my lie could still try to live or finally die. My mouth was dry, but I forced the words out. "I think something is wrong," I said. Her smile vanished. For the first time since I met her, real feeling showed on her face. Not softness, not sadness, offense. Cold offense. After all you promised me, she said. The shame nearly crushed me, because I had promised. Protection, home, belief, and things a husband should not give lightly. But what had I invited in? Elder Bassi lifted one hand. Words are finished. Bring the last lantern. The younger man reached for the unlit lantern. Adana stood up at once. No rush, no noise, but the whole compound changed with that one movement. Her eyes moved from the lantern to Kelechi, then back to me. If you light that lantern, she said softly, somebody here will not see the morning. My skin went cold from head to toe, and in that terrible silence, Elder Bassi struck fire to the wick. Elder Bassi struck fire to the wick. The lantern came alive with a sudden yellow glow. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then everything happened at once. Adana let out a sound I had never heard from any human mouth. It was not a scream. It was not a cry. It was like dry leaves, hot wind, art and hunger all mixed together. Kelechi buried his face in Amara's chest. Mama Nkem jumped back so fast her stool fell. The younger man, with Elder Bassi, nearly dropped the lantern, and Adana, her body bent the wrong way. I wish I could tell you I stood like a brave man. I did not. My legs almost failed me. I saw her arms twist hard against themselves. I saw her neck move in a way that made my stomach turn. Her skin looked too tight for her body, then too loose. Her mouth opened. Too wide. Much too wide. Amara screamed my name. Emeka. But I could not move. The lantern light shook across Adana's face, and that beautiful face began to break apart. Not like a wound, like a mask. The smooth skin around her jaw split first, then the side of her neck. Then the skin over one arm loosened and fell back in a thin, pale flap, like wet cloth sliding from a pole. Under it was something dark, glossy, moving, scales, real scales. I stumbled backward so hard I hit the low wall behind me. No, I whispered, no, no. But truth does not care what a fool wants. Adana's body dropped low to the ground. Her wrapper tangled around her, then tore as something long and thick pushed free. Her hair slipped aside like dead thread. Her eyes were the worst part. Not because they changed, because they did not. They stayed on me with that same cold, knowing look, even as the woman shape failed and the thing inside came out. A python, a giant python, longer than any man in the village, thick as a palm trunk in the middle, dark green and black with wet shine from the lantern light. Pieces of human skin still clung to parts of it, hanging loose like a lie that had finally broken. Kelechi began to wail. Amara held him so tightly I thought his bones would crack. Mama Nkem started praying in a shaking voice. Elder Bassi did not run. I still remember that. The old man stood with one lantern in one hand and a short cutlass in the other, though even he looked small before that thing. The python lifted the front of its body high, higher, until its head was level with my chest. Then it spoke. Yes, it spoke. Not with a woman's soft voice now, not with any voice I can explain well. It was like Adana's voice, dragged through a pit. You called light to my face, it said, my teeth knocked together. What are you? Its mouth opened just a little. I saw the dark inside. I saw the tongue. I saw death waiting there. You chose me, it said. You opened your gate. You called me wife. Shame hit me so hard, it almost broke me. And because it was true, I had chosen this. I had ignored tears. I had mocked wisdom. I had pulled danger into my own bed with both hands. The python's head turned toward Amara and Kelechi. Hunger does not leave an open house empty, it hissed. No, I shouted. At last, my body obeyed me. I moved. I grabbed the nearest wooden stool and threw it with all my strength. It hit the snake's side and bounced away as if I had thrown dry bread at a rock. The python turned back to me at once. I had its attention now. Good. Better me than my child. Elder Bassie shouted, "Keep the lanterns high. Do not let the light fall." The younger man lifted his lantern with shaking hands. Mama Nkem kicked her fallen stool away and held another lantern out as far as she could. The open compound filled with moving yellow light. The python did not like it. I could see that now. Its body twisted. Its head jerked. It kept trying to angle itself away from the strongest part of the glow. That meant light hurt it. That meant we had one small chance. "Emeka," Elder Bassie shouted, "move it away from the child." I spread my arms and stepped left. "Look at me." The python did. I wish it had not. That head came at me so fast, I only lived because fear threw me sideways. Its mouth snapped where my shoulder had been half a second earlier. I hit the dirt hard. Dust filled my nose and mouth. Before I could rise, the snake's tail whipped across the ground and slammed into my ribs. Pain burst through me. I rolled over, gasping. "Daddy!" Kelechi cried. Amara tried to pull him back toward the kitchen wall, but the python shot across the yard and cut them off. It moved so fast for something so huge, faster than any nightmare. Amara froze. Kelechi screamed. Then something happened I will never forget. Amara stepped in front of our son. She did not run. She did not beg me. She spread both arms and stood between that monster and Kelechi. "Take me first," she said. In that moment, my heart broke for how badly I had wronged her. This woman I had humiliated. This woman I had called darkness in my house. This woman whose tears I had stepped over. She was ready to die for our son without even thinking twice. And me? I had brought the thing there. The python lowered its head, studying her. "You smelled the truth first," it hissed. Amara's lips trembled, but she did not move. "You will not touch my child." Elder Bassie spoke fast, his voice sharp with fear and command. "Emeka, the fire." I looked toward the cooking place. The small evening fire had burned low, but hot coals still glowed under black wood. Beside it stood a half pot of palm oil and a bundle of dry bamboo. My head raced. Light, fire, heat. Maybe that was why the snake wanted dark places. Maybe that was why it asked about locks. Maybe that was why it waited for night. I grabbed one end of the bamboo bundle and dragged it to the coals. My ribs screamed in pain, but I did not stop. The younger man understood first. He ran to help me. Together, we shoved the dry bamboo into the fire until flames jumped high. The compound brightened. The python recoiled at once. That was enough for me. "Bring the oil," I shouted. Mama Nkem stared, then moved faster than I thought her old legs could carry her. She snatched the half pot of palm oil and handed it to me with both hands. The python lunged again, and this time toward the darker side of the yard, maybe trying to escape, maybe trying to circle back toward Kelechi. Elder Bassie slashed at it with the cutlass. The blade struck scale and bounced, but it changed the snake's path just enough. I flung the oil. Most of it splashed across the python's middle. Some hit the dust, some hit the wall, but enough covered the scales. "Lantern!" I shouted. The younger man looked at me, confused. "The lantern! Throw it!" His face went white. Then he understood. He swung the lantern low and hurled it with all his strength. The clay hit the snake's oiled body. Glass shattered. Flame exploded. The yard lit up with a burst of orange and yellow. The python reared so violently that it nearly struck the roof edge. It let out a shriek so loud I thought my ears would split. Fire ran over the oil on its scales. The smell was terrible. Burnt skin, burnt cloth, something foul and old and bitter. Kelechi was crying so hard he could barely breathe. Amara dragged him behind the water drum again. I grabbed the second lantern from the ground and held it high, while Elder Bassi shouted prayers I had not heard since childhood. Mama Ninkum joined him. Their voices were shaky, but strong enough to push courage back into my body. The python crashed into the side wall. Mud broke. Pots fell. It rolled, trying to kill the fire, but each time it twisted into shadow, we pushed more light toward it. The younger man kicked burning bamboo closer. I followed with another piece of flaming wood. It struck my leg with its tail again. I went down hard. This time, the python came straight for me. Its burning body dragged smoke over my face. Its mouth opened, and heat and rot hit me together. I tried to crawl, but pain slowed me. I looked up and saw death rushing down at me. Then Amara screamed and threw something. It was not much, just a clay water bowl. But it hit one of the snake's burning eyes. The python jerked. That saved my life. I rolled away as its jaws slammed into the ground where my chest had been. Teeth tore dirt and broken clay. Elder Bassi rushed in from the side and drove the cutlass down, again and again, at the same place, behind its head. The blade did not cut deep at first. Then on the third strike, maybe because of the fire, maybe because of the weak spot he found, the steel went in. The python lashed wildly. The younger man was thrown backward into the wall. Mama Nkem nearly fell. I got to my feet with a burning stick in my hand, and every bit of shame and rage inside me turned into force. "For my son!" I shouted. I drove the burning end into the wound behind the python's head. The sound it made then did not belong in this world. It thrashed. It slammed its body against the ground so hard the earth shook under us. Fire burst up again. Elder Bassi stumbled away. I thought it was still going to kill us all. Truly, I did. Then the snake began to pull back. Not from me. From the light. From the fire. From all of us seeing it together. Its great body twisted toward the broken side wall. It pushed through mud and wood like they were dry leaves and dragged itself out into the night beyond the compound. For one mad second, I wanted to chase it. Then Elder Bassi grabbed my arm. "No!" he barked. Do not follow darkness into darkness." He was right. I stopped. Outside the wall, we heard the python crash through bushes, then farther away into the trees near the stream. Then silence. No, not silence, something softer. A woman's voice, faint, dying, angry. "This is not finished, Emika." Then even that was gone. The compound stood broken around us. One wall had split. Half the goat shed was smashed. Fire burned low in patches of wet dirt and spilled oil. Smoke moved through the night. Kelechi would not let go of Amara. The younger man sat up slowly, holding his shoulder. Mama Nkem kept praying under her breath. Elder Bassi leaned on the cutlass, breathing hard, and I fell to my knees. Not because I wanted to, because my body had no strength left. I looked at Amara, at my son, at the house I had nearly destroyed with my own hands, and then for the first time in a long time, there was no pride left in me, only shame. "Amara," I said. My voice broke. She looked at me, her face wet with sweat and tears and smoke. "I am sorry." Simple words, too small for what I had done, but they were all I had. Amara did not answer at first. Kelechi still clung to her neck. She just looked at me in that broken yard where my foolishness had finally shown its full face. "You should be," she said quietly. That truth cut deep, but I accepted it. Before dawn, Elder Bassi sent the younger man to call a few trusted men from nearby compounds. Not many, only enough to help us search the path beyond the broken wall and see if the snake had died nearby. They came with torches, ropes, and fear in their eyes. We found the trail easily. Burn marks, broken grass, blood. And then, marsh near the stream, where reeds grew thick, we found a shape half in mud and half in shallow water. Not a woman, not fully a snake either, something between. The body had burned badly. Parts of the great python form still showed, but the head and upper body had changed again in death, twisted into something almost human and not human at the same time. Even the men who came to help stepped back at once. Nobody argued after seeing that. Nobody called me a liar. Nobody said the elders were old fools. We did not bring the body back to the compound. Elder Bassi said some things should not cross a home twice. The men dug deep near the far edge of the stream bank, where nobody farmed. They buried it there before sunrise, while Mama Inkem prayed and threw bitter leaves into the pit. When it was done, the village began to hear whispers. As whispers became talk, talk became full stories. By midday, everybody knew that Amika had married a beauty with no people, no history, and no hunger for normal food. Everybody knew his first wife had warned him. Everybody knew the elders had warned him. Everybody knew a python in human skin had entered his bed. That kind of shame does not stay small. For days, I could not step into the square without feeling eyes on me. Some people pitied me. Some feared me. Some laughed when they thought I could not hear. A man who ignores wisdom becomes a lesson for others. I had become that lesson. And yet shame was not the worst part. The worst part was inside my own house. Kelechi woke crying many nights after that. If a rope lay in the wrong place, he shook. If a lizard scratched the wall, he screamed. Then Amara slept lightly with one arm over him every night. As for me, I barely slept at all. When I closed my eyes, I saw the lantern light on Adana's breaking skin. I heard that voice say, "You chose me." Yes, I had. That truth stayed with me. A week later, when the compound had been repaired enough for rain not to enter, I sat outside with Amara after Kelechi fell asleep. It was the first quiet moment we had shared, alone, since the nightmare ended. The moon was small. The night was gentle, but we were not. "I do not know if this home can become whole again," Amara said. Her voice was calm. That frightened me more than anger would have. I nodded slowly. "I know. I warned you. I know. You shamed me before this village." My throat tightened. "I know." Amara turned and looked at me. "Then what do you know that you did not know before?" That question sat between us like a judge. I answered the only way I could. "I know beauty is not peace," I said. "I know desire can make a man blind. I know the person who cries for you may love you more than the one who smiles at you. I know I almost fed my son to darkness." Amara's face softened a little. Not in forgiveness, just in truth, meeting truth. For a long time, she said nothing. Then she asked, "And now?" I looked at the repaired wall, at the gate I had once opened with pride, at the yard where she had stood before a monster to save our child. "Now I spend the rest of my life proving I have learned," I said. Amara lowered her eyes. "You may never earn all of it back," she said. "I know," I answered. That was the hardest part. Not winning her back in one night. Not speaking big promises. Just knowing I had broken something and maybe I would spend years trying to rebuild it. But that was the truth. And after living with lies, truth felt cleaner, even when it hurt. As the weeks passed, the village changed around me. Men who once joked about taking second wives stopped joking so loudly. Women told the story in low voices while pounding yam or washing clothes. Children were warned not to follow beauty without questions, and every time a lantern was lifted at a family gathering, someone would laugh nervously and say, "Let the light show everything." That became the saying, "Let the light show everything." For me, it meant more. It meant never opening my door to what I had not tested. It meant never calling loyalty boring again. And it meant never stepping over the tears of my own home while chasing a shining lie. One evening, months later, Kelechi sat on my lap and asked me a question I had feared he would ask. "Daddy," he said, "did you know she was bad?" Children do not ask small questions. They go straight to the wound. I held him close and answered the truth. "No," I said, but I refused to listen when people who loved me tried to warn me. He thought about that. Then he asked, "Will you listen now?" My chest tightened. "Yes," I told him, "I will listen now." He nodded, as if that settled something in him. Then he leaned against me and watched the evening fire. Amara stood nearby, stirring soup. She heard every word. She did not smile, but she did not turn away either. And for a man who had nearly lost everything, that was enough to keep working for. And so if you are listening to me now, from your room, your shop, your car, your kitchen, or your bed, remember my name. My name is Amika. I opened my gate to a beautiful lie and nearly buried my own family because of it. I thought I was bringing honor into my house. I was bringing death. But light came. Truth came, and though it came late, it saved us. So like this story, comment where you are listening from and share it with someone who thinks warnings are just noise. Sometimes the person crying is the one trying to keep you alive. Sometimes the lantern you fear most is the only thing standing between your home and darkness. And me, I still sleep with a lantern near the door. Comment part 2.